Let me ask you something. Is Kaizer Chiefs a football club or is it a movement? Because no matter where you stand, whether you love them, hate them, or pretend not to care, Kaizer Chiefs affects South African football like no other team. They sell out stadiums without winning trophies. They dominate headlines even in bad seasons, and their name alone sparks debates in taxi ranks, workplaces, and family gatherings. So how did one club become this powerful? How did Kaizer Chiefs go from being an independent idea in the early 1970s to the most supported football club in Southern Africa? This is the story of vision, revolution, trophies, rivalries, and survival. This is the birth of Kaizer Chiefs. Picture this, it's 1970, apartheid era in South Africa. The air is bursting with political tension, and for millions of black South Africans, life is an uphill battle against a complete regime of oppression. But on the dusty streets of Soweto, there is a different kind of power. Football isn't just a sport here, it's an escape, a heartbeat, and a form of resistance. Out of all that chaos rises a club that would go on to become the most supported institution on the African continent. Let's start at the very beginning. Kaizer Chiefs was officially founded on January 7th in 1970 at 8414 Sencho Street in Fefeni, Orlando West, Soweto. The man behind it all, Kaizer Shinchaguluva Motang. Born in Soweto, Motang was not just a footballer, he was a thinker and a leader. He was someone who saw football beyond the pitch. Kaizer was a teenage sensation for Pirates in the 1960s. He was fast, clinical, and charismatic. But in 1968, the football world changed for him. He was recruited to play in the United States for Atlanta Chiefs in the North American Soccer League, or the NASL. A young black man from Soweto traveling to the US during the height of the civil rights movement, playing in a professional league. Think about that for a second. He didn't just play, he dominated. He was the NASL Rookie of the Year in 1968, scoring 16 goals in 16 matches. And here's the key point most people miss. America didn't just give Motang football experience, it gave him a business vision. He witnessed how professional clubs were run, the marketing, the branding, and the discipline. When Kaizer returned to South Africa during the NASL off-season, he wasn't coming back to play, he was coming back to build something new, and that's when he found his home club, Orlando Pirates, in absolute chaos. Internal problems led to the dismissal of key players. Kaizer tried to intervene, but instead, he found himself caught in the crossfire. So, he made a brave move. He decided to form an invitational 11 to play some friendly matches. The response was massive. People didn't just want to see the players, they wanted to see the professionalism Kaizer brought back from America. On that day in January 1970, he merged his name with his American club name, Kaizer plus Chiefs. He brought in players like Eliakim Pro Kumalo, Ariel Kagongwane, Ratha Mokgoetlheng, Masomi Koza, Zero Johnson, and the legendary team manager Ewert the Lip Nene. They weren't just forming a team, they were forming a brand. While other teams were just football clubs, Chiefs were the glamour boys. They wore bright gold and black. They looked like stars, they acted like stars, and very soon, they started winning like stars. From day one, this club was different. It was not just about football, it was about identity. Kaizer Chiefs didn't grow slowly, they exploded. Why? Because Motang understood something important. Fans don't just support results, they support belonging. Chiefs joined the National Professional Soccer League, or the NPSL, and by 1974, they were the kings of South African football, winning their first league title. This decade was defined by a specific style of play. We call it the Kasi flavor, the no-look passes and flair that makes the crowd go wild. Chiefs played attacking football. They engaged supporters, built a strong visual identity, and treated their players like stars. By the mid-1970s, Chiefs was already a powerhouse. The club became a beacon of hope. During the 1976 Soweto uprising, when the township was burning, football was often the only thing that could safely bring people together. Chiefs became more than a club. They were a cultural identity. They were not just playing for points, they were playing for the dignity of a people who were told they were second-class citizens. By the late 70s, they had already established a massive following. They were not just a Soweto team anymore. They had fans in Durban, Cape Town, and even across the borders in Botswana and Lesotho. Amakhosi had arrived. And then came the golden generation. If the 70s were about birth, the 80s and 90s were about complete dominance. This is when names became legends. Top players of the golden era, the likes of Teenage Daladla, Patrick Ace, Netsowalengo, Dr. Kumalo, and Marx Maponiane. Chiefs was not just winning, they were setting standards. At the start of the 1980s, Kaizer Chiefs was clearly in a period of transition. The trophies were not flowing like before, and they only had just one trophy to show for the season, the Sales House Champion of Champions. That trophy came after a 3-1 aggregate win over Pubis, with goals from Shaka Nkobo and Simon Lahoko, plus an own goal along the way. Not exactly a dominant season by Chiefs standards, right? But here's the thing. Even during that silent period, Chiefs still had difference makers. Shaka Nkobo was one of them. A player who bridged the golden years of the 70s and 80s, Nkobo wasn't just quick, he was ruthless. Over 14 years at the club, he scored more than 150 goals, and defenders hated facing him because he could finish with either foot. As Nkobo once said himself, "Goalkeepers never knew which foot I was going to use before I blasted shots at them." And that pretty much tells you that he was unpredictable, confident, and built for big moments, even when the team around him was still finding its way. In 1981, the club did something truly mind-blowing. They won a quadruplet of trophies. Every time there was a knockout tournament, you could bet your house on the black and gold being in the final. This was the era of the Mainstay Cup and the BP Top 8. But why were they so good? It was definitely the recruitment. They had an eye for talent that was unmatched. They brought in players who were not just good athletes, but artists. Now, you can't talk about Amakhosi without talking about the icons who wore the jersey. First, Patrick Ace Netsowalengo. If you ask the old-timers, they'll tell you that Ace was better than many of the Europeans playing at the time. He spent 11 seasons in the US, but always came back to Chiefs. He was a wizard. He saw passes before they even happened. Then there's Dr. Kumalo. In the 90s, Doc was the face of South African football. He was the representation of the glamour boy, handsome, stylish, and incredibly gifted on the ball. He made over 300 appearances and was the heartbeat of the 1996 national team. We have to mention Sifaiwe Shaba Chabalala. Every football fan on earth knows his name because of that opening goal in the 2010 World Cup. A goal for South Africa. Goal for all of Africa. That was a Kaizer Chiefs player delivering the greatest moment in African sporting history. And then there is Itumeleng Khune, ITU, the man with the distribution of a playmaker and the reflexes of a cat. He joined the Kaizer Chiefs Academy in 1999 and became a pillar of the club for over 2 decades. These players didn't just play for a paycheck, they understood the love and peace philosophy. They knew that when they stepped on that pitch, they carried the emotions of thousands of people who had saved their last cent just to buy a match ticket. The Soweto Derby is bigger than football in Africa. It is about history versus revolution, tradition versus innovation, black versus gold and pride versus pride. Every derby carries the weight of decades, and Chiefs didn't just compete, they flourished under pressure. Remember, Chiefs was established by former Orlando Pirates players, therefore that makes it personal. When Amakhosi play against the Buccaneers, the country stops, literally. We're talking about 90,000 plus fans at the FNB Stadium. Half the stadium is a sea of gold and black, and the other half is a wall of black and white. There's no destruction, which is the beautiful part. Fans sit together, they joke, they tease each other, but the tension on the field is lethal. Then came the formation of the Premier Soccer League, or the PSL, in 1996. The game became more commercial, and Chiefs was ready. Under the guidance of coaches like the late great Ted Mr. Magic Dumitru, they reached a level of tactical sophistication that left others chasing shadows. They won back-to-back league titles in 2003-04 and 2004-05. One of their greatest moments ever was in 2001. They were named the CAF Club of the Year after winning the African Cup Winners' Cup, the Mandela Cup. They beat Interclub of Angola in the final. It was the moment Amakhosi proved they were kings of the continent. But football evolved, money increased, tactics improved, and the competition got tough. Chiefs still won PSL titles, MTN 8, and Nedbank Cups, but cracks began to show. Fans became more demanding, expectations increased, and then came the drought. Kaizer Chiefs went through their most painful period. Years without trophies, coaching instability, player recruitment issues, off-the-field criticism, and yet they still sold out stadiums and dominated TV ratings. That is power. After winning the league in 2014-15 under Stuart Baxter, the well went dry. A trophy drought that continued for nearly a decade left Amakhosi fans absolutely heartbroken. People started asking, have the Glamour Boys lost their shine? Is the Motong family's management style still working in the modern era? But here's the thing about royalty, you can't just erase an empire. In the last year or two, we've seen a massive shift. Their investment in the youth academy is finally paying off. We are seeing a new generation of players who understand that the jersey weighs heavy. The 2024-25 season showed signs of a pulse, a return to that attacking, arrogant style of football that makes Chiefs so dangerous. Kaizer Motong didn't just build a football team, he built an empire. They have a state-of-the-art village in Naturena that looks like a European training ground. They have a marketing machine that puts most international clubs to shame. Whether they are winning trophies or struggling, Kaizer Chiefs are the Glamour Boys. They are the team people love to hate and hate to love. If they lose, the front pages of the newspapers are about them. If they win, the whole country feels a certain buzz. So let's think about this for a second. Has Kaizer Chiefs already lived its greatest era, or is the next golden generation still loading? Can Amakhosi return to dominance in modern African football, or has the game changed too much for them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.